It's one of the longest-running sci-fi franchises in the world, and among the most influential Japanese anime series of all time. Gundam. The science fiction media franchise spans more than 1,000 TV episodes, as well as films, video games, and collectible toys. Gundam has also given rise to an entire genre of groundbreaking stories, exploring faith, humanity, and war. And of course, giant robots. So how did an anime world created to sell plastic toys become a pop culture phenomenon? Giant robots have been a staple of Japanese manga and anime since the 1950s. Series like Tetsuji Nisu Hachigo were some of the earliest anime series to hit Japanese television. In the decades that followed, giant robots continued to dominate pop culture. But while these sci-fi robots were, in many instances, futuristic war machines, the stories built around them offered viewers simple, familiar worlds filled with heroes and villains. In each episode, a giant robot and its boy pilot would face off against another villain. It was a black and white world of good and evil, presented through colorful cartoons for children. But outside Japanese homes in the 1960s, the real world was a far more complicated place. The nation's post-war years were marked by a massive anti-war movement that often boiled over in clashes involving leftist protesters, police, and right-wing groups. The country had rebuilt itself from the rubble of World War II, but with much of the region still divided after decades of long and brutal conflict, war was never far from the minds of most people. In 1979, emotion and debate about Japan's wartime history was crystallized in an unlikely outlet. Mobile Suit Gundam. Gundam was the brainchild of anime director Yoshiyuki Tomino. Born in 1941, Tomino was the son of a chemical engineer who worked on pressure suits for Japan's wartime fighter plane pilots. Tomino dreamed of working as an aerospace engineer, but after he failed his university entrance exams, he shifted his focus to literature. Films like the 1950 US sci-fi classic Destination Moon connected Tomino's love of engineering with sophisticated science fiction ideas. Decades later, Star Wars, with its space colonies and iconic battles, would further influence Tomino's earliest ideas about Gundam. Tomino said he wanted to create something about a conflict in space, but with an underlying anti-war message. Characters he developed would struggle with their violent actions. Deaths depicted in the stories felt real, and as the franchise progressed, it never shied away from showing the war's toll on civilians.
富野由悠季係有反戰思想嘅作家嚟嘅，佢並唔想戰爭發生，佢係想用高達帶出就係呢樣嘢係唔啱嘅。
Tomino's idea was to capture the stories of both allies and enemies, because he didn't want future generations to have only one side of the story. The Gundam pilots are also mostly teenagers, waging war on the orders of adults while struggling to find their own free will. Tomino initially focused on two protagonists from opposing sides. The main storyline featured Amuro Rei, a young mechanic living on a space colony, facing off against Char, a commander and pilot. The characters set archetypes that would remain popular across the franchise's 45-year history.
小朋友有一種反叛啊，咁先可以令到個角色更加入戲同埋更加有個性。
But there was another secret behind Gundam's success: toys. Sunrise, the animation studio behind Mobile Suit Gundam, partnered with Bandai in the 1980s to create plastic, metal, and resin toy kits, known as Gunpla. Bandai sold more than 714 million Gundam model kits worldwide between 1980 and 2021.
我諗呢2年幾以嚟一定過千款㗎啦。
發唔發現呢度有啲 details 啊？呢度冇咗，呢個係我雕出嚟嘅。
嚇！你雕出嚟嘅？
係啊。
其實 Bandai 嘅模型都一直喺度進化緊。Bandai 嘅技術係可以將嗰啲罅隱藏得好好。而家新嘅模型，我諗大部分你都唔會見到有明顯嘅罅位。咁啊有 SD 先啦 ，SD 就係嗰啲 BB 戰士細細粒嗰啲，接住落嚟就有一個叫 HG 啦，咁啊一般都係1:144嘅。last 一個就係 Perfect Grey， 你會見到佢啲油壓會跟住拉出嚟，咁你會見到好多精密嘅結構啦。會喺度開模型班嘅，會見到後邊有一啲噴油嘅位。我最細嘅學生係9歲嘅啫。
買 figure 都係想重現翻動畫嗰個場景出嚟嘅啫嘛。組裝高達咧，即係我自己已經係玩到識改造嘅，專業技巧會多少少嘅，因為又要係黑線啦，你又要打磨得比較工整，咁先至會重現到個模型本身嘅質素出嚟嘅。咁如果你另外再想額外加啲創意落去咧，又會有好多唔同嘅技巧要去處理。咁我覺得呢樣係高達比較特別嘅地方。
Gundam has evolved with the development of each new series, but Tomino's anti-war philosophies have persisted in the stories. For fans, the anime and related products remain a solid way to connect with the Gundam spirit.
如果高達嘅，我諗都係20到40歲呢個年齡層多咯。我中意嗰套叫做閃光之海殺衛。我第一隻去參加比賽嘅就係佢咯。我嗰陣08年未有佢嘅模型出過嘅，我用 New Gundam 自己用膠板同筆地改咗嗰隻出去。有人就係覺得係一種心靈寄託啦，有人我覺得係細個補償翻嘅遺憾啦。生活有好多問題啊、挫折嗰啲，你要去打敗佢啊。因為我係一個幾容易放棄嘅人嚟嘅，咁有時候睇到一啲勵志嘅動畫漫畫都可以令到我有翻個力量去繼續向前行。